Hey everyone, we are going to start in about a minute. We are just waiting for everyone to join and then we'll start. Okay. Hi everyone. Are you guys able to hear me? Just drop a quick yes or no in the chat. Everyone, just say a quick yes or no. I'm audible to everyone. Let me know if I'm visible as well now. Am I visible, guys? Am I visible? No, not yet. Oh, my bad. One second. 1 second. Just 1 second. 1 second. Okay, am I visible now? Okay, yep, I am visible now. Hi everyone, how are you guys doing? कैसे हो सब लोग? Are you guys doing good? हाँ दिखा रहे स्क्रीन दिखा रहा. Is everyone doing good? Um, 1 second. Uh, Sushmita, can you please shoot me an email at algocamproot@gmail.com? Will help you. Screen went black. 1 second. Are you guys able to see my shared screen now? Akash, Anand? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So how many of you guys have started working on that Quora project? I can see some nice discussions going on in the group for a few things around the older, like the current implementations, but nobody discussed much on the Quora project. How many of you guys have made some progress around the Quora project? Anand says, me, very good, Anand. What's the progress looking like? Ritik says, started today. Okay. User CRUD for now. Okay. Setting up the models. Okay. Anand, I believe now we have a weekend. Okay, cool. Just 1 minute. So here we are, right? DB interaction you are able to do very good. That's like the crucial part as well. 1 more second I will need. Okay. Cool. Okay, so let's start today's session, guys. We are going to discuss something pretty interesting today. Okay. Okay. My voice and everything is audible. Shall we like start? Okay. Is my iPad screen also visible? Okay. Cool. So we'll talk about something interesting today. I'm not sure how many of you guys have seen this in production. You guys can give your inputs as well. But this is something very crucial, very, very important. Okay. Let's keep it here. Let's keep it here. Okay. So till now, whatever kind of database interaction we are doing, right? First things that is pretty important to see here is that we are using RDBMS for now, right? Of course, in RDBMS, what's the structure looking like? We have a lot of tables, and the tables are interacting within each other using relations, right? One to one, one to many, many to one, right? There is a problem that's going on with the current scenario of the application. One thing that you can understand is that, of course, we are currently preparing application on a very small scale, right? But things can start going out of hand once we go on a scale of something like Facebook, Microsoft, Google, these kind of big tech. Why? Because just think about it. When the product features and requirements are huge, there will be a lot of tables. There will be a lot of tables and lot of relations. Can I say that? Right? There will be a lot of tables and lot of relations. Now you might be thinking then, okay, so yeah, there will be these kind of things. Then what is the problem? Like, what is the problem that you want to talk about here? The problem is that how exactly your database evolved, how you are going to keep a track of it. Because currently, if you remember, what we are doing is inside our application.properties, we have this hibernate DDL auto equals to update. So currently what is happening is that if two situations occur. One is if we create a new entity class. If we create a new entity class, or we update an old entity class. In both of these scenarios, what happens is DB automatically updates. DB automatically updates. For example, if you add some columns, you add a new table, anything you do, the DB is correspondingly updated. Can I say that? Now just think about it. Let's say there are 7 developers, 10 developers, or maybe more. Let's say 100 developers. All of them are working on the same database. Why? Because let's say there are 15, 17 microservices. So every couple of engineers own some microservices, but due to some reason, there's a lot of database overlapping between a bunch of services. Now just think about it. One engineer on their local machine, on their local copy, will be updating some classes. Another engineer will also be updating some classes, adding some classes on their local machine. Both of them will be pushing. Do you think there can be conflicts here and there? For example, let's say there is a user class. I added a property string first name in the user class, whereas one more engineer removed a property, let's say string phone number from the user class. Now, let's say my features were dependent on phone number. I also did an update. They also did an update, but my maybe features were dependent on that. And let's say both of us pushed. Maybe I pushed first and they pushed later. Now, don't you think things will start breaking, right? Okay. There will be a lot of chaos because we are just updating classes. Anybody can update class. These classes can have a lot of backward implemented features. And if you change these classes, backward compatibility will take a huge toll. Or anybody who is technically making an update to these classes have to do a very thorough testing and everything. Apart from that, let's say you made changes to the database. You realize everything is going good on your local. You implemented things on production. And let's say your changes introduces a class, add 5, 6 columns to 3, 4 different tables, does a lot of database changes. Okay, let's say you did, let's say 10, 20 database changes in the next commit. You pushed it to the production, and on production, something happened and things starts going sideways. Now, what do you have to do? If you need to roll back those changes, what do you have to do? You have to go and make changes to all of the classes that you actually added changes to. Can I say that? Just think about it. Let's say you changed 5 classes. In some classes, you added a column. Some classes, you removed a column. Some classes, you added some constraints. Some new classes you added altogether. If something goes sideways in production, your manager will come to you. They will ask you to roll back your changes because things are on fire. Now, rolling back those changes are going to be pretty difficult because probably you don't know which one of the classes is actually making an issue. And even if, let's say, it doesn't matter, I have to roll back everything. You have to go to each and every single individual class and like roll back a lot of things. Of course, version control can actually help you here. Like you can go to the last working stable commit of production and revert all of your changes there. But what if some more people have actually added their commits? It will be a lot of chaos, right? That's why the current approach that we are following is good for your personal projects or small scale projects where 3, 4, 5 developers only are working. But in production where a lot of engineers are there, this is not the right way to go for. That is something that you have to keep in mind first of all. Are you guys able to get this point? Everyone is able to get this point? What I'm trying to say here. And do you guys understand the issue or not? Okay. So now in other frameworks like Ruby on Rails, one of my favorite, handling database updates is done in a different way. It's not like Spring doesn't support it. Spring also supports it, and most of the frameworks support it. But few of the frameworks are there that out of the box support it. In few of the frameworks, you have to maybe use some libraries to get a support of it. What is the support we need for? There is a concept called as database migrations. What is database migrations? What is database migrations? You can say database migrations is equal to your database versioning. Right? Just like how you have your code base. You make changes to your code base, you commit the changes, one commit becomes one new version. How about we have some mechanism using which every database level change that we want to actually do also becomes a version. And we make database changes incrementally. We make incremental changes to the database so that at any point of time, we realize that the last change or the last 2-3 changes are not good. We don't have to roll back our production code logic. We can just roll back our database versions. How about that? Maybe something like that can be introduced. You can say version control for your databases, that every time you make a database change, it actually creates a version out of it. And best part, you will be able to track how your database has evolved, right? You will be able to track what was the previous state of the tables, what is the next state of the table, how your tables have progressed, how new columns have been added, when was a table actually dropped. All of these things will be actually tracked, right? It's kind of like having a end-to-end database versioning or schema versioning of your available databases. This concept is called as database migrations or database versioning or schema versioning. Anything you can actually call it for. For example, I can show you an interesting thing. If you search for Ruby on Rails project directory, one second, Ruby on Rails project directory. Okay. And let's say you go here. If you will scroll up, or maybe I can show you it on my GitHub. I can maybe show you it on my GitHub. Okay. So I can show you a Rails project. I'll show you a Rails project. One second. Let's put a filter. Is there a Ruby filter? No. Let's search for Ruby. Okay, you can see anything we can actually pick. Let's pick up this one, for example. Okay. And let's say if I go to this DB migrate, can you see there is some folder called as DB migrate, which has some number altogether. And inside this, there is a Ruby code that has been written. Best part about Ruby on Rails is that to write these kind of database versions or database migration, you don't need to use any other language. You can just write Ruby. Okay. Let me show you with another project. So let's see. What I can search for is, if I go here, okay. If I go to DB, again, it's a Ruby on Rails project. If I go to migrate, can you see there are a lot of files? And in every file, if you read the code, what's happening? It's creating a table, adding some columns to it. You can see here, it's creating some table, adding some column to it. Then you can see it is adding a column to a particular table. Things like that, right? Of course, it's not very much relevant to our Spring Boot project because it's all Java that we write. But I want to show you that the thing that I'm talking about is something that is very regularly followed. You even have migrations, as far as I remember, in Django as well. And if you go for Django, you can see you can have database migrations for Django as well. Okay. You can see something like this. Make migrations, and your migration file looks something like this. Okay. So even in Django, if you go, you have migrations. A lot of time, a lot of MERN stack developers feel that, okay, they just have to make changes to the schema and things are done. Like, for example, let's say if you're using something like Sequelize, okay. So in Sequelize, most of the time, what people do if they are making MERN stack projects is that they just write a JavaScript file and make the models like this. This is a pure JavaScript file, and then just run it. what generally people do is what we have been doing as of now, that you update your model class and database automatically updates. You don't have a versioning. But technically, SQLize supports migrations. Okay. SQLize does support migration because it's a very important tool, right? And not a lot of people actually talk about it generally in the Merge stack region altogether, right? And it's not like, okay, so I've shown you a bunch of, I would say, frameworks that are supporting it. Let's maybe take a look at a few maybe open source project that support it. Like let's, for example, if you go to Mattermost, GitHub, right? You can find a lot of end-to-end backend services, which is using migrations. Okay. If you go to repositories, up above. One second, let's go back. This one. And if you go to server, and we might have to find it, but probably let's see. If we go to this is the build, this is bin, 1 second. DB migrations. You can see. If I go to this folder, can you see there are a lot of migrations? And here they have written pure SQL files. This is what's going to be very close to what we are also going to write. You can see they are actually preparing a bunch of SQL scripts that are actually managing their migration. So it's not something that I'm cooking up myself, right? You go to any production database, there are provisions of migration. As far as I know, migrations for MySQL in .NET, if you even go for .NET, right? There is, you can see there, you can create migration for your entities and everything. There is dedicated support for .NET as well. Most of the modern frameworks that you will actually take a look at actually do support migrations. And Spring also does support migration. For Spring, in order to support migration, what you have is, one second, in Spring, what you have is something called as Flyway, Spring migrations. Okay. If you want to set up your migrations altogether, right, what you can actually do is you can use something called as a Flyway. Flyway is a library, right? Flyway is a library that will actually help us to set up migrations altogether. And that is what we are going to talk about. What does migration mean in database? Somnath, I mentioned this, right? You can say the word migration, you can say the word versioning. Both of the things are said in the same context. Database migration means database versioning. You know what is your normal version control for your code bases, like Git? Can I say that? So just like Git for project, migration or versioning is for your databases, versioning for your databases. Okay. So now a bunch of people might be thinking, okay, so there is a concept like migrations, which is like your database versioning, but what do we have to do here? What we have to do is, in order to prepare proper database migrations, what we will do is, we will be maintaining incremental scripts. We will be actually maintaining incremental scripts. Inside these scripts, we will actually code all the changes that our DB needs to have in the next version. So we have to actually code these versionings so that we can tell in the next version what will be the corresponding DB looking like. And then if you have dedicated version, you can even roll back to previous versions as well. Are you guys able to get this point? Actually, we know migration means from one. No. ऐसे तो माइग्रेशन का मतलब तो ये होता है कि कुछ तो चिड़िया एक जगह से उठ के दूसरी जगह माइग्रेट कर जाती हैं, उसका भी मतलब माइग्रेशन ही होता है. टेक्निकल टर्म्स में कुछ चीजों को मतलब सिमिलर नोटेशन दिया जाता है. इंग्लिश इज अ फनी लैंग्वेज गाइस, प्लीज लेट्स नॉट गो इन द डिक्शनरी. मतलब पाइथन कैसा नाम होता है भाई लैंग्वेज का? किसी को कुछ भी चूज करना था, पाइथन क्या होता है? ना वो जानवर स्ट्रॉन्ग है इतना, मतलब ऐसे धरती का सबसे स्ट्रॉन्ग जानवर नहीं है, सबसे फास्ट जानवर नहीं है, सबसे हैबिटेबल जानवर नहीं है, तो क्यों बाय पाइथन? भाई कोडिंग वर्ल्ड में एक चीज जान लो, नाम तो ये लोग कुछ भी सोच के रखते हैं. Sure, Rachel. So Rachel, like you understood the concept of DB migration, that as a conceptual thing, what does it mean? That somehow we will be doing the versioning. Can I say that, Rachel? Somehow we will be doing the versioning. Now, how we will be doing the versioning is that we will be writing incremental scripts. Like incremental scripts mean one script after another script after another script. In each script, we are going to define what is the change we want to have in our database. And then every script will act as a version for us. That's what I'm saying here. Are you able to get this point? So some code we have to write. Make sense, guys? And for Spring, what is the library we are going to use? We are going to use Flyway. Any questions as of now? Any questions as of now? Any questions? If somebody is from my Monstack batch, I used to always teach migration. They must be having some context. Those people who are new, it might be new for those people. It's like documentation, but in code. No, it's like code in code. It's not documentation. You will see. Okay. So let's actually do it. And then we'll get a better hands-on. Okay. Now, in order to implement these migrations, we need the Flyway, I would say, package, right? In order to set things up. Okay. So let's get Flyway for Gradle first. Okay. So let's see. Flyway for Gradle. Okay. Let's see. And you can see we have some recommendations here. Okay. And let's go to Maven Central. Okay. Here you can see Flyway Gradle plugin. So what we'll do is we'll go to Gradle, and this is probably we will just copy up. Okay. Or maybe you can also check up some Medium articles. Set up Flyway with Gradle Medium. Okay. Generally for setup, you can also refer to some articles which are going to step by step tell you what do you have to actually do here. Okay. So you can see if you want to set up with Maven, you can do this. If you want to set up with Gradle, you can do this. So maybe we can just pick this Gradle implementation here. Satvik, I have talked about what is database migration. Just a quick recap in 1 minute. Database migration means versioning your database incrementally. Currently, we have classes and we just run the project. Whatever changes are in the classes immediately get applied to the database. But this can become chaotic if 100 developers are working on the same code base. In that case, we need an incremental versioning for your database, just like how we have code versioning. So that's what we were talking about. Okay. So for that, in Spring, we have Flyway that you can actually integrate. There might be some other packages also. Flyway is a very famous one. Saurabh. I've never used anything apart from Flyway. Like for example, again, if you go to Google, Microsoft or something, they have everything internal. But you can find for like alternatives of Flyway. Alternatives of Flyway for DB migration. Spring. You can see there's Liquibase, right? You can see there are some other tools as well. So what we can do is we'll just copy this line and we will go to our build.gradle file, and without a further ado, we'll just paste this line. Okay. And just a second, there's a quote difference here. Cool. And you can see Gradle is already asking me to refresh the changes. If I click here, it will take a minute to set up Gradle. Okay. By that time, what we can actually do is we'll just go to our database. You can see there are a lot of tables, right? What we can actually do is we can drop all the tables. We'll just drop all the tables. Okay. So let's try to drop all the tables. And okay. So we have some foreign key references. So we might have to go one by one. So let's drop this one first. Or once again, booking review is dependent on what? Passenger review as well, right? So let's drop this one, or let's do something even simpler. let's go to by the time it's installing, we'll just do this setup. Why I'm dropping the whole database? Because what I want is I want to set up everything from scratch, but this time using Flyway. Okay. So I'll just drop the DB directly. Okay. And one second. Let's see. Before dropping the DB, can I just take a quick backup? Let's see how many tables I dropped. So I guess driver, passenger, booking. Oh, booking table I dropped. Oh, that was the main. So let's not take a backup then. That was the main table having most of the data. So if you do show databases, we must be having user Uber DB local. Uber DB local, show tables. Okay, so let's drop the DB, drop database, Uber DB local. And you can see I've dropped the database and I'll just create the database again, create database, Uber DB local, that's it. Okay, so all of the tables are automatically gone only, no problem there. I'll just refresh and you can see no tables are there. So all the tables are gone. Okay, and you can see here, it has actually installed Flyway as well. Now, one problem that is currently present in our code base is that in our application properties, we have set DDL auto as update. The moment I will run the application, again, what it will do is it will scan all my classes and automatically create the database. But we don't want that. We do not want that. So we have to change this. Now, what do you think might be a suitable value here? The most suitable value will be validate. That you just validate that whatever is the schema representation as of now in the database and whatever is the class representation that we have in our code base, are they both matching or not? Please do not create tables for me. Please do not update tables for me. Spring Data JP, I'm requesting. Please do not create tables for me. Please do not update tables for me. The only thing that you have to do is just validate that whether the schema representation and the class representation are matching or not. That's it. And we already saw what's the use case of validate. The moment you will do that, it will not actually create anything inside your database. Everyone getting my point as of now? Yeah, entity classes, whatever JPA representations you have given, whatever requirements in the query, you have all of that. If you alter table from backend, will validate with validate, it will fail. Yes, if you have not made changes in the classes, Pawan Patil. Pawan Patil is asking a very interesting question. If you will alter the table from the backend, will the validate fail? If you don't have changes, if you don't have the changes corresponding to the database changes you have in the classes, it will fail because validate is going to map the classes altogether. Okay. Make sense, guys? Okay. Now, in Flyway, again, once you have installed Flyway, now what you have to do is you have to set up a few configurations around Flyway and everything. And you can see you have to do a bit of configurations. And after the configurations in Flyway, what do we expect is the incremental scripts that I was talking about. You have to write pure SQL scripts. You can see you have to write pure SQL scripts in order to actually prepare your database, right? If you go with the world of Ruby on Rails, there you write Ruby scripts. But here in the world of Spring Boot, you do not write JavaScripts. You write pure SQL files only. So what do you have to do? See, you have installed this in Gradle, looks good. Now, if you scroll down, now what do you have to do? You have to do a configuration. Okay. You have to set up this baseline on migrate to true. Okay. You have to set up this baseline on migrate to true. So you can see Flyway works out of the box if you integrate it in the beginning of the project. However, if you plan to integrate to the existing database, you can do as well with just a little configuration. Okay. So we'll do that. We'll do that configuration. So you can say spring dot Flyway. Okay. Dot baseline on migrate to true. Okay. Let's do that so that in case if it is required for the remaining part, we can do that. And you can see what it expect. It expects that we create a DB migration folder inside the resources folder. Okay. So here you can see there is a resources folder. Here it wants us to create a DB migration folder. And inside the DB migration folder, can you see what you have to do is you have to prepare your SQL files. And inside that SQL file, you'll properly write, create a table, alter a table, and you will write those incrementally. So that's what we are going to set up as well. Are you guys able to get this point? Earlier, we didn't have a schema in database. Automatically, you're getting whenever we are running. Yes, Somnath, very good. Like we were having a schema, like those schema were represented in the form of class. And Spring Data JPA was automatically mapping the class to the database. Are you able to get my point, Somnath? Somnath, does that point make sense? Yes, because we don't have a database prepared. Now, to set up Flyway in a slightly more easier way, what you can actually do is you can actually install a plugin. Okay. So there is a plugin that you can install. You can go to the settings. You can go to this plugins tab and you can search for a plugin called as JPA Buddy. You can see I have already installed it, JPA Buddy. It's a very cool, I would say, extension that you can actually install. Right. You can see I've already installed it. You can install it and probably it will ask you to restart. Why JPA Buddy is cool? Let me show you. For example, you can see you have a driver class. The moment you will install JPA Buddy, what will happen is you will get a JPA designer here, right? And now what you can actually do is if you want to add or remove any annotations, like currently we are manually writing getter, setter and everything. If I just remove this, can you see the getter is gone? Can you see the getter is gone? If I remove the setter, can you see the setter is gone? If I remove all args constructor, it is gone. If I bring them back, they are back. So you can use this UI layout to prepare your entity classes altogether. Okay, you can do more. You can do more. For example, you can define the inheritance type. You can define the table, what schema it has to take, who is the parent you can actually define. If you want to specifically give an entity name, you can define it from here. A lot of things you can actually do. Right? You can see what are the attributes. If there are any indexes that have been prepared, you can see a lot of cool things it actually helps you to do, right? Generally, whenever I'm teaching, I don't use Spring Data JPA Buddy too much. Otherwise, you'd never get a context on actually writing the raw classes yourself. But now what you can actually do is, on the left side, you'll get something like JPA Explorer, right? If you click here, you can see you'll get a JPA Explorer here, okay? Click on this plus button. It will show you a lot of things that you can create a JPA entity. If you want to create a JPA entity from a Pojo, it will automatically create a entity class for you from Pojo. Okay. If you want to create a repository, you can create a repository. A lot of things you can do. An interesting one is Flyway migrations. Can you see? Right. So you can say Flyway init migration. Let's go to Flyway init migration. Okay, cool. Now, what do you have to do? You have to define the source type. That what is the source of this migration? So currently we have a bunch of classes already set up. So what I can do is I can keep the source as model. That from my models, pick this as a source. That read my models and prepare my Flyway scripts. If I click on OK, you can see it's doing a bunch of things here and there. And can you see? Interesting part is it has created the folder automatically that I was talking about. See, I talked about this folder, right? That you have to go to resources and create DB and migration. It will automatically create that folder. Inside that folder, it will ask you to create a file, and every file in Flyway has a strict naming convention. For example, you will be having v1, that is the version, then double underscore, and then name of the file. For example, initial db setup.sql. Okay. And can you see it is creating the booking table, booking review table, driver table, passenger table, passenger review table. Then it's altering a few tables to add the constraints. All of this, it will automatically do. The moment you save it, can you see? Let me just scroll it down here. Can you see inside resources, you have a DB migration and you have your first migration script. Can I say that? Right? Okay. Cool. Now, if you see use user DB, Uber DB local, and if you do show tables, can you see there are no tables? Why? Because Flyway has created a script for us. We have not executed the script, right? We have not executed the script. So what you can do is you can manually just execute the script directly from here, or let's just try to run our project. Let's try to run our project. If I run the project, let's see if there will be any errors or something. Okay, there is one error. Let's just quickly check why that error is coming up. So it says attempt was made to call, a method does not exist. So probably some configuration is missing. Some configuration is missing. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's remove this configuration that I added on migrate one. Let's remove this configuration once. Let's try, because I guess this configuration is for an already DB setup project, but we are setting up the DB from scratch. Okay, still failing. Let's just quickly Google it. Okay. Let's take an error. Okay, let's see. The methods class is available from the following location. Okay, let's just do one thing. Let's copy this code here and see if we have some Google search. And I'll do one more thing. Ta-da-da. Okay, so there is a question. So this SQL file is auto-populated using the classes we wrote. Yes, because we have that JPA buddy, right? That JPA buddy will automatically read the classes, and we automatically said when I actually created the script here, I created a Flyway init migration. Init means this is the first migration that we have. Are you able to get this point? Is my making sense? We created this script using JPA Explorer. Yes. On the left side, you will be having this dog icon, which will be having your JPA Explorer altogether. So let's see if we are missing any configuration. Da-da-da. Let's see. We have this SQL script. This is good. You can see the migration file has a very strict format. Prefix, then the version, then double underscore, description, and a .sql. Okay. It doesn't ask us for any configuration. Let's see. Flyway migration not running. Let's see. Okay, so we have to add a Flyway user and password, I guess. But let's just quickly check. If you don't need to run Flyway from Gradle, you can remove Flyway. Okay, yeah, cool. So you can see we are running from Gradle only, right? So what you have to do, we have to add a few Flyway configuration like the URL, user, and the password. So let's do that as well. So you can see we already have a data source user and password. So let's do that for Flyway as well. So spring.flyway.url, and I'll just copy this URL from here, paste it here. Okay. Then I'll say spring.flyway.user is equals to root. And let's see, spring.flyway.password is equals to this. Okay, let's see. If I run the code again, same issue. Okay, correct the class path of your application so that it contains compatible version of this. Okay, let's Google this error. I guess some version of Flyway that we have installed is not working. Let's Google this error. And let's come up here. Okay, Flyway version declared in, you can see some Flyway version is causing an issue. The latest version of Community Flyway that supports Michael this. Okay, which version we have installed? Which version we have installed? Sorry, build.gradle. We have 6.4.3. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I guess we need one more package. We need one more package. Spring Boot Starter Flyway. I guess there is one more package, right? Spring Boot Flyway database. So what do we need? We need this Flyway core we have. Do we have Flyway core? Yeah, we have Flyway core. That is good. And Flyway core. Okay, it's just Flyway core we need. Okay. Which version of Flyway we have? Flyway MySQL. Let's see. Maybe some version, specific version of MySQL for MySQL we need. Set up Flyway with Spring Boot. Let's see which version they are asking for. Oh, they just said Flyway core. What we did, we got version this. Okay, it's a Flyway Gradle plugin. Let's get Flyway core, right? Let's search for Flyway core. Flyway core, Maven Central. Let's search for Flyway core. Yeah, this one. Let's get this version and Gradle. Oh, this is same, right? Let's see. So copy and let's change it here. Paste and let's refresh. Okay, and let's run the file again. Let's run the whole project again. Let's see if you are able to get it or not. Once again, in class path source, unsupported database. Oh, it doesn't support MySQL 8.3. Let's see. Maven Central for MySQL 8.3. I have a latest version of this. So, okay, which one we added? We added the Flyway core, right? Okay, let's add this one. I guess this is for MySQL 8.3. Let's see. Let's paste, refresh. Maybe we need core and MySQL both. Maybe we need the core and MySQL both. But let's see. And yeah, so it says entity manager, it is not able to find and unable to find this. So probably we need the core and this one both. One second, let's go back and let's have the MySQL one as well. Let's have both of them. Actually, before MySQL 5 point something, things were a lot different. One second. Let's go back. Unsupported database MySQL 8.0. Okay, so somebody already has this issue. Okay, so this is what they are recommending. So let's have that. Run it. Oh, my bad. One second. Pause. Refresh Gradle. Gradle is up. One second. Let's see. What else do we need? I already have it set up somewhere. So, One second, guys. Let me see my previous project. So we have, we need Flyway MySQL. That is good. What else? Okay, we just need Flyway MySQL. Is it? Just a second, guys. Let's see. Otherwise, maybe we can just follow any article for Flyway that has been written for Gradle. Let's see. So this one is working, but it says error creating bean with name. So maybe it's some other issue. Flyway might have been integrated. Let's see. Okay, let's see why this entity manager factory is failing. And let's mention for Gradle. You might have used the ID annotation with the wrong package. Let's see, where is it failing? Oh, okay. So it has been included, but can you see? This is what's failing. Okay, so I guess Flyway is already included, but I guess I didn't read the error properly. Can you see one log coming up here? Let's copy this and let me show you. So let's open Sublime. Here we go. So you can see schema validation, wrong column type entered in column booking status in table booking, found varchar, but expecting enum. Can you see? So the validation is failing. Okay. If you go quickly check show tables, can you see tables have been created? Tables have been created. So let's roll back. Let's do one thing. Let's drop the DB again. Drop DB, create DB. Okay, let me show you what changes I did. Let me show you what changes I did again. Okay, I'll delete this db.migration file altogether. Let's delete altogether. Delete. Okay, now we are in the old shape. Let me reiterate on what we did. Okay, so there was one small issue that I have encountered, but no worries. You can see for Flyway, what we are going to do is we are going to actually use Flyway MySQL because we are using the MySQL DB. So we need the Flyway MySQL library 8.4.4 because I have the MySQL 8.3 version. Okay. Once you have added this and refresh Gradle, what you can actually do is you can go to JPA Explorer. You can see this is JPA Explorer coming up. Click on plus init migration. You can see Flyway init migration. What is the source? The sources are our models that see our classes and based on our classes, prepare a database. I'll click on OK. And it will create a file here. We'll mention the name as init db.sql. Okay. Now every Flyway migration file has a very strict convention that first of all, you have to mention the version, then a double underscore, then name of the file .sql. And you can see it's a plain SQL file. If I click on save, then you can see inside db.migration, it has created a file for us. Okay. Cool. Now, if I run this code, or let's say just build the whole project, let's see what happens. You can see this is failing. And this is failing at this particular line. It says schema validation, wrong column type encountered in booking status in the table booking. So let's see the table booking. Let's go to our booking here. You can see here we have a booking status as enum. Whereas if you go to the booking table here, if you see the booking table here, can you see the booking status is coming as varchar? That's not correct. So Flyway has not prepared this particular thing properly. Okay. So what we can do is we can manually rectify it. How? Enum, or I should say define enum in table column MySQL. Okay. We just see how do we define enums in tables. Okay. So let's open this and you can see, you can just define an enum like this. You can just have an enum like this. So let's have an enum. Instead of varchar this, we can just say enum. Okay. And we can define the enum. We can define the enums. So let's go to the booking status. These are the 4 enums that we need. Sorry, not 4. There are a few, but let's take them. And I'll paste them here. And I'll just quickly configure them. So this is scheduled. Okay. Then we have cancelled. Then we have cab arrived. Let's do it like this. And here we go. Okay, now you can see I have added this as enum. We can just put all of them in a single line. Okay. And now let's try to run the code again. Let's try to run the code again. Okay. And just 1 second. Yeah, let's go ahead. So if I run the code, let's see what happens. And okay, now can you see when I'm again running the code, this is throwing us an error. Why? Because it has already created a bunch of tables for us. So let's use this database. 1 second. Let's use this database. And now if you do show tables, can you see it has already created a bunch of tables for us. So I'll just drop the DB again. I'll just drop the DB again. Drop DB again. Create the DB again. Use the DB again. And now let's run it again. So because it has already prepared and you are trying to rerun the initial script, that's why it is creating a problem. So let's see now what happens. And you can see everything worked well. So the only issue was inside the script that flyway automatic. Ideally, we should create all of these scripts ourselves, but because we are using a tool, sometimes the tool can actually make an error here and there. But now you can see this whole script has been executed. If you see show tables, can you see? We have all the tables. And interestingly, we have a flyway schema history table as well. If you do describe flyway schema history, then can you see this is a table which is actually going to maintain what all schema migrations you have actually executed. If I do select star from, oh, my bad. If I do select star from, and let's take flyway migration history. Can you see? If I zoom out, version 1 has been installed. Which version? This particular script. And this has been installed by the root user. When was it installed? This is the time when it was installed. How much execution time it took, whether it was successful or not, what was the type of the script, everything it has actually prepared for us. How cool is that? Are you guys able to get this point? Yes. So I'll just push this much code so that you guys can also try and rectify because probably you will get a similar issue. So I'll just do git add all, git commit -m, added flyway migration init script, git push origin master. Okay. Time for questions, guys. Time for questions. Because now we are going to see changes and everything one by one. And can you see? I just restarted the project and project restarted properly. Can you guys see that? And now, just one more thing that I would like to show you. Now, because the first migration script has been written, if you restart your project, whatever you want to do, you can do it. No problem will happen until or unless you write another migration script. But one problem can occur. What is that problem? In case you go to any model, and do not comply with the relations. Let's see what happens. You can see previously there was a string name property in the driver table, or I would say driver model, I should say, because we are dealing with classes. I just removed it. Let's see what happens. If I run the code, can you see everything worked? Why is that? If you carefully see in any of the script as of now, and even if you see the driver table, describe driver, can you see the name can be null? So even if you don't have a name property, it doesn't actually creates any problem for us. But now let's remove one more property, maybe license number. Let's try to remove that. And now let's run the code. Let's run the code now. Can you see this time it is failing? Because what was the previous validation? Previous validation was able to see that, okay, in the table we have a column which can be null and the class doesn't have that property, so no problem. But now table has a column license number which cannot be null. And you are not even putting that in the class. That means when you will create an object, it will be null. That's not being validated. And hence it is throwing us an error. So that's why if you want any strict validation for any column or anything, make sure you put that in your classes. The moment now, if you will run the code again, now you can see I've brought back everything. If now you run the code again, Spring Data JPA is able to validate. So Spring Data JPA, we are going to use for validation and preparing our scripts, interacting with the database. But for making changes to the database, we are not going to use Spring Data JPA. Instead, we are going to use Flyway migrations altogether. Now, one more interesting thing that I would like to show you. For example, now in the driver table, I would like to add one more thing. Let's say, let's add, private string phone number. Okay. So let's say a phone number property I want to add in the driver table. Now, can you see this change that I have written is the Java code, and the Spring Data JPA configuration is not update. It is validate. So if I will run the code, what will happen? This phone number property is not going to be propagated in my table, right? And instead, can you see? It's going to throw an error that schema validation failed. You are expecting to have a phone number, but there is no phone number in the table. Now, you have made some changes to your classes. That means you have made some changes to your models. Now is the right time to propagate these changes into your database. And how do you propagate the changes in your database? Using a script. Which script? SQL script written by Flyway. So what you are going to do again? You go to this JPA Explorer, click on plus, and this time I will not create init migration. I will create versioned migration. I will click here. And now this tool is super cool. It is going to ask you for a source and a target. Source means, hey, I'm going to create a script. But what is the actual state of the model? Actual new state of the model is written inside the models. And what is the previous state of the model? Previous state of the model is DB, right? Because DB has the old structure. My classes has the new structure. So it will ask you, from where do you want to make change where? So actual state is our model, that is classes. Previous state is inside DB. If you click on OK, can you see? It has automatically created a new script. And can you read the script once? Alter table driver, add phone number. How cool is that? Okay. But if you carefully see, this is also adding this booking changes. We don't need that. So we'll remove that. Why? Because Flyway, like this JPA tool, thinks that we need to have a varchar there, but we don't need to have varchar there. We want to have enum only. So we will just keep these changes. Okay. Okay. So you have to first of all save the file. So let's save the file. Version 2. Can you see version 2 __ add phone number to driver. This will be the name of my file, to driver.sql, right? Save. Oh, it says invalid file name. 1 second. So in that case, let's write one more time. Version migration. Okay. And let's say version 2 __ add phone number to driver dot SQL. I guess I didn't mention dot SQL. If I click on save, now I can see it is saving. Okay. And I will remove these booking changes. I don't want these booking changes altogether. Okay. But by just creating the script, is it going to propagate in the database? No. Just by creating the script, it is not going to propagate. You have to run the code. If you run the code, let's see what happens. This time everything worked. And if I do describe driver, can you see there is a phone number property that has been added? And if you see select star from flyway schema history, the second migration has been added here. How cool is that? That's the power of flyway. Are you able to get this point? Drop a quick yes or no in the chat. Whether validate it validates the existing table with entity classes, and in name, the validate did not throw error because nullable. Yes, because see, it sees the table structure. Table structure has something, you do not have something. Table structure has a non-nullable property, and you in the classes don't have that property. It throws an error. In the table structure, you have a nullable property. You do not have it. Okay. But in your classes, you have a property that's not in the table. That can be problematic. Rachel. It is automatically running the script in the table. Yes, that's the power. That's the power. It is automatically doing whatever you want to do whenever you want to do. How many of you guys are able to get this point? Drop a quick yes on in the chat, guys. The error was coming from Hibernate validate or flyway? Hibernate, because who is going to do a validation? Okay, simple question. Who does the validation? JP does the validation. What does Hibernate do? Hibernate is the ORM. Puneet, we have already discussed about what is Hibernate. Hibernate is the layer that will translate your object or object oriented code to your SQL code. That's Hibernate layer. What is flyway? Flyway is going to make version of your databases. What is JPA? JPA is the set of interfaces that ORMs like Hibernate implement. And what is Spring Data JPA? Spring Data JPA is a library that brings Hibernate ORM with a set of configurations that you can default use and make your life easy. Remember all of that discussion we did. Whenever we will add a new property, every time we need to drop database previous table from. No, Somnath, I didn't drop it. Did you just realize I didn't drop the table this time? Let me add one more property. I will not drop the database in front of you. Okay. So let's do one thing. Inside my driver, let's add one more property. Private string address. Can you see I've added this property? Okay, Somnath. Somnath, can you see? Okay. Now I'll go to Spring Data JP Explorer. I'll click on plus. I'll click, and you can see I'm not dropping anything. Spring Data JPA, sorry, flyway version migration. What is the actual state or the current state model? What is our previous state? DB. If I click on OK. Version 3. Add address to driver. Right. Always give good names to your SQL files, guys. Enter. I don't want changes in the booking. I will avoid it. And I will just rerun the code. And now if I do describe driver, can you see address has been added? So I didn't drop it. Here I have question. Why extra two things are coming? Why booking alter part is coming? Somnath, that's because this flyway is generally writes things in the form of a general SQL kind of a thing. So if you go to booking is what? Enum. We have defined it as enum. It thinks that because in some databases, enums can be properly handled with normal strings also without a problem. So it thinks that, okay, we need a string there, but we don't need a string because MySQL has enum property. Some SQLs might not be having enum properties. There you have to handle it using varchar only. But MySQL has enum, so we'll go with enum. Most of script, like again, every script is what, Pawan? It's a SQL script or not. So if SQL can handle it, this can handle it. We are writing raw SQL only, right? Isn't it? Are you able to get this point? Any questions, guys? Time for questions, everyone. Time for questions. My bad. Time for questions. I'm unable to find JPA Explorer. Did you install JPA Buddy? Did you install JPA Buddy? Did you install JPA Buddy? There is a library JPA Buddy that you have to install. Sorry, plugin. JPA Buddy. You have to install. How to do it? 1 second. You go to settings of your IntelliJ IDEA. You have a plugins property here. You can search in the marketplace JPA Buddy. It's a free plugin. I already have it installed. You will get an option to install it here. Rest of the people, can you guys just quickly try to set up Flyway on your end as well? I'll share the, somebody asked me to write the version in the Discord group, right? I'll share it there. 1 second. Just a second, guys. I'm sharing you the Flyway MySQL version on Discord. Guys, everybody try to set up Flyway once on your end so that you guys can also get a hands-on around what's going on. It might break based on your database version, but don't worry. You can just Google it and handle it. In the announcement channel, I have shared. Before dropping that, no, Akash. A noob mistake I made. I can just say that. If a property which is non-nullable is removed, then validate will throw error. But if a non-nullable / nullable property is added, validate will throw an error. How about Rachel, you try it? Just try it out. No? How about you try it out? Just make changes there, run it again, and see what all things validations are actually filling for. Just try it out. Rest of the people as well, please try it out. Please try setting up Flyway on your end once. Any questions you guys have, feel free to ask. Anybody having any questions? How to take backup of a table from DB? If you go to MySQL Workbench, for example, if you go here, you can take any database. For example, I have this shop cart DB. Okay, you can right click on it and or one second. Let me expand it. You can go for there is a export option here. 1 second. So use shop cart DB. 1 second. So I've used it. Now, if you go to builder, edit, view, query, there is one option. You can see. Can you see data export, Akash? If you click on data export, it will ask you which database you want to export or take a backup for. For example, you want to take a backup for shop cart DB here. Okay. You can see what all tables you want to take a backup for. Where do you want to export it? You can select your folder wherever you want to export it, and it will export a .sql file. When you want to import it, just run that whole .sql file, it will import it. Makes sense? For what? Like the backup you are asking for, Prachi? So for any small change, if an entity leads to a new version, yes, technically yes. But whenever you go to a production data code base, Pawan, like the database schemas don't change very frequently. Like there can be a case that you think about the database schema for a month and make change only once. It's not like you keep on making change, then you realize, oh, this is bad, or that is bad, and something like that. Makes sense, everyone? Guys, are you trying? Are you trying Flyway? Are you trying Flyway? How is it looking like? Anybody? If we have to create a new table, it comes under DB migration. Yes. Any database change, Saurabh, any database change is a new DB migration because it's a new DB version. Are you able to get this point? Suppose I will create and I also want to add insert. Can I include both in migration? No. Guys, don't add insertion of data, deletion of data in migration. Migrations are for your schema. It's not for your data. Are you able to get this point? Everybody keep this thing in mind, guys. Migrations are not for your data, everyone. It's for your schema. More questions, guys? More questions? Anyone? Sir, can you show how to go to previous? Somnath, I'll tell you how to do rollback. Don't worry. I'll tell you how to do rollback. Don't worry. First of all, let's start making migrations. Then we will see how to roll back. Okay. Can we migrate to specific migration as we do in Rails? I guess you can do that, but for that we need probably the Flyway CLI. I'll talk about Flyway CLI. I don't like directly compare it with Rails. To be very honest, Rails migrations are way more mature than any other framework. Generally, we should not compare any framework with Rails. To be very honest, like it's a genuine advice that I can give to everybody, because I've seen that nothing compares to Rails. Now though I don't like, last I worked on Rails, it was version 5. I guess Rails has released version 7 now. I'm not even sure. Maybe you can like code satellite logic now in Rails. I'm not sure. Like Rails is too much, man. मतलब Rails कुछ ज्यादा ही कर देता है. उतना बाकियों से expectation रखना सही नहीं है. मतलब Ruby खुद ही इतनी ब्यूटीफुल लैंग्वेज है. लाइक मोस्ट ऑफ द लैंग्वेजेस में आज तक इफ नॉट के लिए कोई सपोर्ट ही नहीं आया. लाइक एवरीवेयर इफ यू हैव टू डू इफ नॉट, यू राइट इफ नॉट. रूबी में यू राइट अनलेस. लाइक इंग्लिश में इफ नॉट इज व्हाट? अनलेस. यू राइट अनलेस. रूबी में देयर इज अनटिल. व्हाइल नॉट क्यों करना? अनटिल. सो रूबी इतनी बढ़िया बनाई हुई है, उसके ऊपर रेल्स लाइक बहुत ज्यादा क्रेजी बनाया हुआ है. द ओनली थिंग इज लाइक बिकॉज ऑफ द परफॉर्मेंस now, and because of microservices architecture and everything, setting up a Rails project can be too much. Like you don't need this much power as a developer. You don't need this much. Like Rails कुछ ज्यादा ही करता है तुम्हारे लिए. उतनी चीजें तुम्हें जरूरत है नहीं. It's like that. What happens if table which stores version history gets deleted accidentally? Then probably you might, if you will run, like for example, if I just delete this whole table, if you will run the script again, it will check, oh, none of the migrations have been applied yet. It will apply all the migrations then. Okay. And that can cause issues. Pawan Patil, can you tell me why it can cause issues? I'm saying can. Why it can cause issues is because of one simple thing. Let me show you guys. So Pawan Patil has a good question, and I believe the answer that I'm telling will be the thing that will happen. So probably what Pawan is saying that, how about, sir, if this table, schema history table, gets deleted by mistake, what will happen then? If I will run the project, it will check, oh, there is no, I would say, schema migration applied. So it will start applying schema migration. And what does schema migration says? Create table. But the table is already there. If you try to create a table which is already there, what does MySQL does? It throws an error. That's why you should say something like this: create table if not exist. But again, we are using the automated tool, right? Ideally, we should write all of these scripts ourselves, right? But again, you can try, but I strongly believe it should throw an error until or unless they have, like Flyway has implemented something on their end to handle this case manually. Ideally, it should throw an error. Or maybe let's try. अब तुमने बोल ही दिया तो मेरा ट्राई करने का मन कर गया. तो पहले देख लेते हैं क्या क्या डिटेल्स हैं. डिलीट फ्रॉम दिस वेयर वर्जन इन, ठीक है. Can you see everything has been deleted? Let's try to run the project now. Okay, let's try to run the project. Let's see what happens. Can you see it throws an error? And why? Table already exists. So again, we are using automated tool, but ideally we should have written these scripts ourselves. If you'll just say create table if not exist, you can just add it there. Then these issues will not come. In production, because you have very complex use cases, you have to write the script yourself, guys. Just FYI. Okay. So for now, I'll just drop the DB. Drop database, create database. And if I will rerun the code, you can see everything is up. Show tables, or let's do select star. You can see all the migrations are up. Make sense? Make sense, guys? Any questions from anybody? Has everybody tried it once, and are you guys able to set it up yourself? Everybody tried yourself or not? Unable to use JPA buddy, getting error. What error are you getting? What error are you getting? This feature is, okay. There can be a case, guys. There can be a case that JPA Buddy is only available for Ultimate Edition. Okay, I didn't think about that. Okay, guys, everybody, just apply for GitHub Student Pack. Everyone, please apply for Student Pack. Okay, why? Because of two reasons. One, it is good. Second, it will give you the Ultimate Edition of all the JetBrains products for free. Please apply for it. If you are in a working place, you are not a student. Maybe some of your sibling might be a student. You just need their ID card. That's it. That's all that you need. Make sense, everyone? Otherwise, again, if you don't have Spring Data JPA, then also you don't need anything. Akash, all you have to do is just go to your build.gradle, install Flyway. Guys, it's not like because you don't have JPA Buddy, you cannot use it. Just install Flyway, go to resources, create a folder DB. Inside DB, create a folder migration. Write all of the scripts that I have written here. I'll push all of these scripts. And then also you can run it. Are you able to get this point? So git commit -m. Okay, I've pushed all of my code. GitHub student, can you please say that once more? Sure, Rachel. This is the GitHub student pack. If you can just search for GitHub student developer pack, you just have to apply it. It's for free. You don't have to do anything here, right? And you will get a lot of products and features for free. One of them is JetBrains licenses for free as well. Make sense? Any questions, anyone? Any questions, anyone, or shall we move forward? Guys, anyone having any questions? Everybody tried this? First of all, tell me, everybody tried this or not? Everybody has this working? Everybody has this working? First of all, tell me that. Okay, cool. Now, Ritik says, yes, sir. What about rest of the people? Rachel, did you try that? Pawan Patil, Akash, Saurabh, Satvik. I want everybody to try. तुम क्या बैठे हुए हो बस? This is an important step. This is part of the setup. क्योंकि आगे अब मैं बहुत सारी migrations ऐसे लिख दूंगा और अगर तुम्हारे में ये चल नहीं रहा होगा तो तुम बहुत पीछे रह जाओगे. Try it. Getting what error you are getting? Akash, I was also getting this error. So probably this booking status you might have to change. Please keep an eye on that. Probably. MySQL setting up. Do you not have MySQL on your system? Schema validation, missing table booking. Have you added the same script as mine? Have you added the same script as mine? Oh, you were using Postgres. No, don't worry, Rachel. You can use Postgres as well for with Flyway. You can just Google it. Flyway with Post. Please don't migrate to a new database just because I am doing it. You can see. You can just and search for Gradle. Probably you'll find some documentation here. Just use that. Okay. Rest of the people, I want status update from everyone. ऐसे नहीं छोड़ रहा मैं. Done. Very good, Satvik. Very good. What about the rest of the people? Okay, cool. Now you might be thinking, how about if you want to make changes or revert the changes? How about that? Guys, how about you want to revert the changes? Anyone? How about you can revert the changes, guys? Run previous script. Which previous script? Like the V1. If you will run the V1 script again, it's not going to work. Remove the column. Okay. So now, in case you want to now revert changes, now there are two things coming up here. One, you can write another migration that is going to revert the changes altogether. Let's say you created a table, you drop that table. You created a column, you drop that column altogether. Okay. What Flyway gives you is there is a paid version or an enterprise version of Flyway. If you carefully see, there's an enterprise version of Flyway as well. Okay. If you search for something like this, Flyway CLI. If you search for that, okay. So Flyway CLI, if you are working in probably a company or something, then Flyway CLI is present, and there is a command called as Flyway undo. Flyway undo. You can see that can actually undo your last migration altogether. But this is not directly available in the free version. So you have to keep in mind that in case you want to roll back to something, then what you have to do, you have to write manual migration. And that's also not very difficult. For example, let's say if you go to your models driver, okay, let's say I don't want the address now. I will just remove the address. I'll click here. I'll say Flyway version migration. Okay. I'll click on OK. Can you see it's saying alter table driver drop column address? I'll just say drop address from driver.sql. Save it. We don't need all of this. And we can just run our code. And the driver column will be actually removed altogether. And I believe this is also a relatively good way to handle the migrations. Why? Just think about it. Let's say the first migration, you added one table. Second migration, you added one more table. Third migration, you added one more table. Fourth migration, you added one more table. Now in the fifth migration, you added a column. Or let me write it like this. Let's say in V1 migration, you added table T1. In V2, you added table T2. In V3, you added a column C1 to T1. In V4, you added a table T3. In V5, you added a table T4. In V6, you added a table T6, T5. In V7, you added a column C2 to T2. Now you want to remove this column. This column C1 that you prepared, you have to remove it. So of course, you can't roll back all of the versions because these changes you need, this change now you do not need. So for that here, you have to make a manual rollback migration. Flyway undo is only helpful in case from the current migration, you immediately want to roll back to the last migration, right? But if you want to roll back to something very old, you have to then also manually write a migration only. So that's why even if you don't have the enterprise version of Flyway, things are going to work pretty well for you. How many of you guys are able to get this point? Somnath, I just mentioned that if you want to roll back some changes, then you have to write a rollback script. For example, here I write one more migration script, which is going to drop the column address from the driver table. Everybody, do you understand what is the problem with rollbacking here? That if let's say you had changes you have some change which was very old and you just want to revert from that particular change. So you can't roll back the whole database altogether, right? You just have to make changes from one migration. So you'll write its undo migration later. How many of you guys are able to get this point? Everyone, how many of you are able to get this point? Time, guys, please ask me questions. I know not a lot of you probably might have interacted with migrations and everything. So migration generally is a harder topic. So please ask questions, as much as questions as possible. It will be good practice if we write undo command for each version you add. Pawan, there are two things here. Why do you want to add undo for everything you added? It's like तुमने सारा काम किया, अब तुम्हें सारा का सारा उड़ाना है, तुम drop कर दो ना database. It's like that. First question. Second thing, writing undo is a relatively good thing, no? Just think about it. If I just want to undo this change, I will write a complement query here because I want these changes to persist. I want all of these changes to still exist. I just want this column 1 to not exist anymore. Are you able to get this point? Like we can store it somewhere else and use which we need. Do you want to come on call, Pawan? Let's have a quick call. Sure. Pawan. Let's have Pawan here. Hey, hi Pawan. Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me, Pawan? Rest of the people, are you guys able to hear Pawan? Pawan, we are not able to hear you. Probably your mic is off. Okay, Pawan, can you please then, in case, elaborate the second comment, which you are saying, which we can store somewhere? Okay. Rest of the people, any more questions? Anyone? Anybody having any more questions? Means every time we will check for each version, we need to add undo commands. No. Pawan, just think about it. No, matlab, don't see with respect to database. See with respect to a normal project. आपके normal project में आप Git से चीजें manage करते हो. Like in your normal project, you manage things via Git. So let's say I made a feature, you made a feature, then I made a feature, you made a feature. Then let's say Rachel made a feature, then you made a feature. And now I realized the first feature that I made was problematic. So what will I do? Will I remove all of your features? or I will add one more commit to just rectify that one part. Because it's a sequential chain. Versioning is a sequential chain, right? If just the last version was problematic, then you just remove the last version. But if some very old version was problematic, then you have to undo those changes manually, right? Like, I believe you know that doing this in Git is problematic. You have one commit, another commit, another commit, another commit, another commit. It's kind of like a chain of commits, right? If I just want to remove this commit and just connect these two, is that directly possible, Pawan? No, right? You have to manually make a commit here that is going to revert the changes from here. You can't just delete a commit from a version history altogether. Is this how schema is altered in industry, or they also use another tool? Tool, probably they might use another. For example, if you go to Google don't use general open source products. They have everything for themselves. So that is the case. But and again, one more thing. Managing migrations, you don't even need a tool, guys. How many of you guys are able to see that for managing migrations, you don't even need a tool? Why? Because all of these are SQL scripts. Can you not just execute SQL scripts yourself? You can write your own tool, or you can write just manual code. Make sense, everyone? Everyone, is this point making sense? Say yes or no in the chat. Okay. So now technically we know most of the things for the DB part. Now, of course, there will be a lot of more things that we will come up with, right, while implementing the remaining part of the project. But for the DB part, we know most of the things from here. Okay. We know how to set up inheritance. We know how to set up compositions. We know how to set up cascading. We know how to set up lazy and eager loading. We know how to solve n+1 problem. And now we also know how to do DB migrations or DB versioning. Are you able to get this point? Okay. Now you have all the basic knowledge that you need in order to set up a nicer Spring Boot project. Okay. So now let's do one thing. Let's have a quick break. If you guys want to have a break and continue after break, we can do that also. If you guys feel like this is too much for you and you want to stop here, I'm okay with that as well. What do you guys think? Do you want to stop here? Because now what I want to do is, now I want to convert this whole review service into a dedicated REST API, which has proper controllers set up that can make call to services, kind of like clean it up. We have some API methods that can expose some of the things all together. And if maybe we need something in the DB, we can make that thing in the DB. Few people say continue. What about the rest of the people? 3 people say continue. 1 person says stop. Oh, I can maybe raise a poll, right? Poll होता है ना Zoom में? कैसे आता है poll? Poll. Let's add a poll. Da-da-da. What to do? Stop or continue after break. Okay. Add this question. Save. Oh, we don't need this question. Just a minute, guys. Delete. Save. Save as meeting poll and launch. Okay, I have a poll raised. What to do? Should we stop or should we continue after break? Let's take a poll. Anything is fine for me. Pretty close fight. You're not able to see the poll. Some issue with your Zoom version in that case because people are able to respond. Somnath. Everyone, please answer the poll quickly. Okay. Looks like we have a winner with continue with break. So let's have a quick break. I can share the results just in case for transparency. Okay. Somnath, let's have a quick break in that case. Democracy भाई. अब क्या करें? डेमोक्रेसी भी जरूरी है भाई. अब ज्यादा वोट पड़ गए तो पड़ गए. जो सरकार आई वो उसी के साथ जीना. So let's have a quick break. Post break we'll come back. I'll make sure that I don't keep it too heavy because I know flyway migrations are already slightly a heavy part. First of all, you guys tell me, like, did you guys like learn something new with the flyway migration part? How many of you guys already worked on migrations already and learned nothing new? Was this flyway migration part good? Were you able to understand what we talked about? Everyone, just quickly give a quick poll, like quick answer. दोबारा मैं poll नहीं बना रहा भाई. सीक्वलाइज में थोड़ा इजी है क्योंकि सीक्वलाइज में तुम जावास्क्रिप्ट लिख लेते हो, यहाँ तुम्हें सीक्वल लिखनी पड़ रही है. इंटरेस्टिंगली यू कैन ऑल्सो राइट जावा, बट वो लिखना ज्यादा हार्ड है. यू कैन ऑल्सो राइट जावा FYI. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जस्ट एक सेकंड में दिखा देता हूँ. If you go here, can you see there's a flyway Java migration also that you can write, but Java migration लिखना थोड़ा difficult होता है. So no point, एक ही काम करेगा वो. Okay, cool. So let's have a quick break. Let's have a 15-minute break. Post break, we'll come back and maybe let's restructure the app altogether. Okay, is everyone back? Is everyone back, guys? Okay, cool. Just 1 second. Okay, so before we continue, I want you guys to do one thing for me. Okay, how you use Intelli if I don't have any student account? Saurabh, do your Quora assignment as good as possible. Then I can give you an IntelliJ subscription for 2 months at least for free. सबसे बढ़िया Quora assignment बना के दिखा दो. I'll give you a free subscription. First way. Second way, कोई दोस्त यार ढूंढ लो जिसके पास कोई स्टूडेंट आईडी हो. होते हैं ना दोस्त जो एमटेक कर रहे होते हैं, एमएससी कर रहे होते हैं, कुछ भी बीएससी कर रहे हो, कुछ भी कर रहे हो. कोई छोटा भाई बहन हो, स्कूल में भी होगा तो चलेगा. छोटा भाई बहन स्कूल में है, स्कूल का आईडी कार्ड है, डन, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. ओके, एंड अगेन यू कैन डू थिंग्स मैनुअली ऑल्सो, बट मेरे को ऐसा लगता है कि इंटेलिजे का सब्सक्रिप्शन थोड़ा तो एनहांस कर देता है डेवलपर एक्सपीरियंस आई बिलीव. और जावा ऑलरेडी इज टू डिमांडिंग. Cool. Yeah, I was saying I need you guys to do one thing, guys. Okay, for me, just to make sure that we are on the right track and we have the feedback from you guys. Okay, I'm sharing you guys a feedback form. Okay, I would genuinely request everybody to fill it because this is going to help us also to like improve the content if there is any, and if there is already things are going good, then like appreciate ourselves as well, that okay, sahi chal raha hai jo bhi chal raha hai. Okay, so there is a feedback link that I have pinged in the chat. Okay, I have not yet shared it on Discord because I first of all want those people who are regularly attending the live class to fill this form so that I can properly segregate, because जो लोग live attend ही नहीं कर रहे होते उनसे ज्यादा मैं फीडबैक वैसे भी एक्सपेक्ट नहीं करता, क्योंकि वो 2-4 शुरू के लेक्चर के बाद दे डोंट कवर अप, राइट. ओके, thanks Saurabh, but again if you guys will just fill it, this would be a really good help for us for data perspective as well, and like to make sure that anything that is going sideways we are able to tackle that. And yeah, so I would highly like, it's a humble request, please fill the form before midnight today. Can we expect that? Just drop a yes or no in the chat, everyone, because then I will be releasing this form for the Discord group. There we might be having more people, but I want your feedback separately, their feedback separately, because you guys are regular. So again, everybody. Oh, thanks Saurabh, thanks, glad to know that. Guys, just drop a quick yes or no if you can expect it to like a quick feedback from your guys, from you guys by midnight. Say yes or no in the chat, everyone. Okay, guys, say yes or no in the chat, everyone. हाँ ना तो बोल दो भाई, तुम हाँ ना नहीं बोल रहे, तुम भरोगे क्या? तुम हाँ ना तो बोल नहीं रहे, भरोगे क्या तुम भाई? ठीक है, ओके. Now let's see where to start from. Okay, I'll just take a quick brief look. Okay. Cool. Now done. Thank you Satvik, thank you so much. I'll do first of all one thing. Now I don't need this review service, guys, because it's a pretty bloated file. I'll just delete this. Okay, so review service has been deleted. We have a couple of repositories: booking repository, driver repository, this. So let's do a few things here and there. Okay, cool. Let's resume in that case. Then thanks Rachel, thank you so much. Thanks Ankan. Okay, and specifically why we are doing this, because this is the first Spring Boot course, dedicated Spring Boot course that we are डूइंग, मतलब बहुत ज्यादा लोग वैसे ही स्प्रिंग बूट नहीं पढ़ाते, बहुत ज्यादा लोगों को स्प्रिंग बूट वैसे ही नहीं आता। स्प्रिंग बूट में जावा लिखनी है वैसी मुश्किल है। मैं खुद जावा का वैसे नंबर 1 फैन रहा नहीं हूँ इन द हिस्ट्री ऑफ माई प्रोग्रामिंग करियर। सो आई ऑल्सो वॉन्ट टू सी की लाइक हाउ थिंग्स प्रोग्रेस। मतलब आई डेंट लर्न स्प्रिंग बूट इन कॉलेज, जो सीखा है बस काम करते करते सीखा है, और कहीं मतलब कुछ इधर देखा, कुछ कोड बेस देखा, ये देखा वो देखा, वैसे ही पूरा जावा कोडिंग्स मैंने एट ऑल सीखी है। सो दैट्स व्हाई द फीडबैक इज ऑल्सो इम्पोर्टेंट, सो जस्ट FYI। आई एम ऑल्सो सरप्राइज हाउ आई मैनेज मल्टीपल लैंग्वेज। अभी तो तुम्हारे सामने माई एसक्यूएल लिख रहा हूँ भाई। माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में आई हैव टू राइट MS SQL सर्वर। SQL सर्वर का सिंटैक्स तो सबसे गंदा है भाई, उससे गंदा SQL सिंटैक्स तो है ही नहीं किसी का। मैं क्या ही बताऊं। मतलब पोस्टग्रे और MySQL इज लाइक वेरी गुड, MariaDB is still okay. I've worked with SQLite also, that's also pretty simple as MySQL. SQL server अलग ही दुनिया है, मतलब उसका तो मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता है। And then recently I tweeted as well, just FYI, if you, I'm not sure if you guys know about it or not. So there is a unit testing framework also called as TSQLT. That is a unit database unit testing framework. You must have heard about unit testing frameworks of languages. Like Java में तुमने Mockito Mockito सुना होगा. In Node.js, you must have heard about jest and everything, right? I first of all in my whole career came to know that for SQL Server, that's my MS SQL Server, there's a unit testing framework called as TSQLT. और अभी मुझे इस पे टेस्ट लिखना पड़ रहा है। मैं अभी लास्ट वीक इसके टेस्ट लिखना सीख रहा था। पहला मैंने अपना मतलब यूनिट 5-7 यूनिट टेस्ट लिख के अभी PR रेस करी है। ओ भाई ये दिस इज वायरस भाई। ये पता नहीं क्यों है, मैं तुम्हें बता नहीं सकता, मतलब ये क्या ही है। श्योर सौरभ, मैं लाइव सेशन वैसे यूट्यूब पे करता रहता हूँ, यू कैन ज्वाइन देयर। बट हाँ मतलब कल नहीं, हाँ कल रात थर्सडे नाइट मेरी पूरी इसमें गई है कि भाई इसका मेरे को किसी भी तरह, एक तो ऑलरेडी गूगल माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में प्रॉब्लम क्या होती है, जो सेटअप पार्ट होता है ना, इट्स वेरी हैवी। तो वो सेटअप करना, फिर सेटअप से इस घटिया फ्रेमवर्क को कनेक्ट करना, फिर इस घटिया फ्रेमवर्क में कोड लिखना, ओहो क्या तो मैं बताऊं, तुम क्या ही सुनोगे। तो जो लैंग्वेज वाला पार्ट है वो कभी कभी मैं भी खुद सोचता हूँ भाई मैं कैसे ही मैनेज कर रहा हूँ, बट से बट ठीक है। इफ यू नो यू नो सात्विक, इट्स लाइक दैट। ओके कूल, लेट्स कम बैक। Now we know a lot of things around our, I would say, Spring Data part where the database interaction happens. Now, what I want is, first of all, let's go in a bottom-up fashion. We have the repository layer, right? Let's maybe write a bunch of queries that we want for our repository layer to be there. Maybe we will not consume every query, but let's have a certain set of queries that probably we feel we will need eventually, okay? And the most important one is going to be the review repository, because this is a review service. The main interaction that is going to happen inside the service is going to be around the reviews of the drives that are, or I would say reviews of the bookings that are going to happen. Okay. So you can see we have this review table and passenger review table. Okay. You can see review table is technically your booking review, which will eventually go for driver as well. This rating is going to be associated to the corresponding driver rating altogether only. And there is this passenger review that driver can give to the corresponding passenger, that how this passenger was actually like. Okay. But okay, but let's go step by step. First of all, I want to have review. Now, basic set of functions, so you already have, right? Basic set of functions, if you remember, you already have find all by ID and everything. Okay. But maybe if you go to review, right, you want to get all the reviews which are greater than a certain rating or less than a certain rating. Maybe you want that. Maybe you want to get all the less than 3 rating reviews. Okay, maybe for data manipulation purpose and everything. Okay, so let's see how can we actually do that. Okay, so maybe we just want a count. Maybe we just want a count. We don't want their review. First of all, maybe we just want a count. So let's maybe write it for that. So you can say something like this. So integer count, you can see count all by, right? You can see rating, you can see rating, let's see, there should be a less than. Greater than is there should be a less than also. By rating is less than equal. Okay, by rating is less than equal. Okay, and we can just pass a integer value here. So I'll say integer given rating. Okay, something like this we can have. Okay, let's see why it's throwing us an error. Because it just says it is never used. If you remember, we have similar method like this. Find all by ID in this. Find by ID and license number. So you pass two parameters. So you can you can do you can do the same thing here. Count all by rating is less than equal the corresponding given rating. Maybe what you can have is a list of reviews. Okay, and again, let's get the list here. List of reviews. Find all by rating is less than equal integer given rating. Okay, in case you don't want the count, what do you want? You want the actual set of reviews altogether. Then also you can get that. Okay, what else? What else we can do with the review? Let's see. Okay, so we have a rating, we have this content, right? So content, I don't think we will be able to do much. Okay, and let's see. Let's do one thing. Let's say we can have list of review, find all by created at before. Okay, so you can do something like this. Find all by created at before. That you maybe you want to pass a date and you want to have all the reviews that are created before a particular date. Something like this. Okay, so this should be your approach to actually, if you have like a basic setup done, then first of all you should, like I generally do this thing that I start with the most low level interaction. So most low level interaction is what? Our repositories, right? Because that's the one that is going to actually make or hit the API call. So that's something that we can have here, right? Once you have repositories in place, then technically what should be there? There should be a service layer and there should be a controller layer, right? But let's say we have booking repository as well. So I don't want to find all by driver ID because review service is not going to be involving any driver fetching data. Can I say that? Okay. And review service should also not be involved in fetching the booking details. So maybe what you can do is, maybe you can get a list of review, find all or let's not even get here. This should not be here. We can have it in the review repository only. Let's say for a particular booking, we want all the reviews. So list of review, find all by now how they are related. Let's see. If you see review and if you see booking, okay, booking has a 1-to-1 review. Okay, so every review is related to a booking, right? Okay, so what we can actually do is find all by 1 second. Let's see how can we custom write it. So we have a review. Okay, interestingly, what we have done is we don't have a booking column, booking property here, right? We don't have a booking property here. Can I say that? Yes, Satvik, we have to rectify that. And what we have done is every booking, you can see every booking has one review. Technically, there should not be a 1-to-1 mapping between a booking and a review. A booking can have many reviews. Can I say that? So this is probably something that we might have to change, right? A booking can have many reviews altogether, of course, right? So let's change that. So before we do this, again, now because we are not learning, we are shaping up our repository. So these things can come up. So let's change that. So now we don't need a 1-to-1 mapping, right? A booking has many reviews. So we'll say one to many. We need a one to many mapping. Can I say that? Just like how driver has many bookings, right? The driver has many bookings. So now in that case, what you have to do is, now booking has many reviews. So you have to go to review. And now inside review, there will be a private booking. Okay. And this should be a many to one, like many bookings. Many reviews will be belonging to one booking. Can I say that? And here we should say, uh, mapped by, sorry, not value, mapped by booking. Mapped by booking. Okay, let's have this. Let's see. One to many attributes should be a container. Let's see. So booking has many reviews. Okay, now you can see we are just saying private review. This should not be private review. It should be a container. That means it will be a list of reviews. It should be a list of reviews. Can I say that? This looks good. This looks good. And now, when we are fetching a booking, do we immediately want all the reviews? Probably not. Okay. So what we can do is fetch is equals to fetch type dot lazy. We'll keep it a lazy loading thing. Right? We don't want, whenever we are getting the booking, we don't want all the reviews to come up all together. Right? So we can keep the fetch type as lazy. Okay. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. Rachel is saying one to many reviews in case of carpool. Are we making in? No, Rachel. Oh, my bad. Yeah. So yeah. Sorry. I guess I just read one comment and I thought, okay, we want to have multiple reviews. But do we want to have multiple reviews? No, we don't want to have multiple reviews, right? In one booking, there is a passenger involved and a driver involved. Passenger will give the review. Makes sense. We don't want multiple reviews altogether, right? Can I say that? Don't want multiple reviews. Let's think. Yep. We don't want multiple reviews. Makes sense. Let's revert this. So one more thing that I would like to do. Yeah, it's not like a e-commerce, right? We don't want multiple reviews altogether. Okay, let's revert these changes. Okay, here. And let's go to review. We don't even need this. Okay, cool. So in that case, now what I want is inside my review repository, I want to find a review by a booking ID. Okay, so here I have to write a custom query. So let's say we'll find a review, find by booking ID. Okay, so we'll get an integer, or sorry, not integer, we will get a long, okay, booking ID. And we can write a Hibernate script here or Hibernate query here. You can even write a raw query, @query. Okay. And this should technically return a review, right? So we can say select, let's say, what should we do? Select star from, and we can do star. So we'll say select R from review R, where R dot again, but now we have to keep a column here, right? So okay, so this query will not exist here because we don't have a booking ID property here, right? If you see review, we don't have a booking ID property here. So if we want to fetch a review, we have to go to the booking repository only. Because again, one-to-one mapping can exist anywhere. If you remember, one-to-one mapping can exist anywhere. So let's remove it from here. And then we don't need a raw SQL. We can just say review find review by booking ID. Okay, let's see. long booking ID. Okay. And we can say that now let's see if we see the schema, and if you go here, let's refresh. Okay, so you can see there's a booking table. Inside the booking table and inside the review table, booking review table, you can see the booking review table has let's see, you can see booking table has a review ID property. Can I say that? Booking table has a review ID property. You could have kept it inside the review table also, no matter what. Okay. So you can say @query select b dot and one second. Satvik is saying why is JPL query not working directly? Remember, JPL query is a compile time query. It will validate on compile time, but it validates from where? It validates from your class. Now, when you make a query to review, do you have a booking property directly here, Satvik? Do you have a booking property directly here? No. So what are the two ways? What are the two ways here that you could have made things? Again, you need to have a raw SQL or a native query written, but now you have to make a join. Can I say that, guys? Even if there is a one-to-one mapping, what do we have to do? We have to make a join. Can I say that? Everyone, how many of you guys agree that here we have to make a join? Now that join you could have written in a booking repository because you're finding by booking ID. So that's why I kept it in a booking repository. You could have kept it in the review repository as well. Okay. Cool. So let's see. So we'll say for now, select star. For the timing, I'll say select star. Just a second. Let's zoom it here. Okay. So we'll say select star from booking B inner join review R. Okay. On B dot let's see, B dot review ID is equals to R dot ID, where B dot ID is equals to booking ID. Okay. And then technically what we should return is, we should return select R from here. Okay. And let us just quickly see, cannot resolve symbol booking. We can make it booking here, and we can make it a review here. Okay, this is good. And dot, let's see, what property do we need? B dot review is equals to, now because it's a SQL query, right? So we can just say R, where B dot ID is equals to booking ID. And this query can technically work for us, right? This query can technically work for us. Okay. How many of you guys are able to get this point? Okay. And what we can do is we can even try this query. So मेरे को समझ नहीं आया exactly क्या कर रहे हैं. Please just give an overview. Somnath, so we want to write this function, find review by booking ID. We want to write this function, find review by booking ID. तुम्हें क्या करना है? जो भी बुकिंग है, क्योंकि let's say अभी हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं? ये 1-to-1 mapping है. You tell me what is the default fetch type of a 1-to-1 mapping? Eager. But what we can do it, we can make it lazy, right? We can make it lazy. That let's say we don't want to fetch review immediately when somebody is calling for a booking. When somebody will immediately call for the review of the booking, then only we will bring it up. Are you able to get this point, Somnath? हम इसको लेजी बना सकते हैं, राइट, बिकॉज 1 to 1 हैज अ डिफॉल्ट फेच टाइप एज ईगर. अगर ईगर रखेंगे तब तो इसकी जरूरत ही नहीं है. अगर ईगर रखते ही है तब तो इस फंक्शन की जरूरत ही नहीं है. बट इफ आई मेक इट lazy, then what? Then what's going to happen is, then you have to manually fetch the corresponding review. Are you able to get this point? ठीक लग रहा है? Any questions, anyone? Why do you need to join? Review is directly present in reviews table. Okay, Satvik. Let's see. In the booking review table, do you have a booking ID? No. In the booking table, you have a review ID. It is not a single table. Can I say that? If it would have been a single table, then every booking would have got its review immediately in the same table. Can I say that, Satvik? But do you agree with the fact that this is not a single table? Yes or no? So then in that case, we have to make a join, right? Everyone able to get my point? Okay. And again, you could have written a raw SQL query as well. Instead of this, you could have written a raw SQL query as well. For example, if I just comment it out, paste it again here. If you are more comfortable with raw query, no problem. But again, raw query will not be judged at compile time. So you just say native query is equals to true. And you can just say, one second, let's close it. Okay, you can say, select, let's say, star from booking B inner join review R on booking.b.review ID is equals to r.id, where booking ID is equals to booking ID. You could have written a SQL query like this as well. No problem. Right. But let's go with the Hibernate one, because Hibernate query can be judged at compile time. Okay. Let's see, Rachel. If I run this code, if there will be any error, Rachel, or everyone, if there will be any error with this query, it will be called out at compile time. Let's see. We don't have to manually run and check if this query is syntactically correct or not. And we can check also SQL queries. You can see syntactically there is no issue. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Join, or I should say inner join in Hibernate query language. Let's see what Hibernate query language supports for inner join. Okay. So you can see from this as E, join E dot department as D, join this as C, where this. Okay. You can do something like this, or you can read more articles here. You can see similar kind of stuff we have. Okay. And there is a good article from DigitalOcean as well. Okay. Again, refer to articles altogether. So if I go beyond, so let's search for join. Command F, join. You can see, select e.name a.ct from employee, inner join this. Okay. And in fact, I guess you don't even need this. Even if you avoid the on property, if you just say inner join booking B, inner join R, this will automatically take the relation. If you run the code, you can see in compile time, there is no issue altogether. Can I say that? So even this syntax can directly work as far as I know. Makes sense, everyone? Okay. Anybody having any questions? So in fact, you can even avoid this on property here, like this on b dot review is equals to r. In Hibernate, you can just directly avoid it because it will automatically fetch the relation because it is going to check it from the compile time. This is also a write SQL query, like HQL query. Can you show the booking table once? This is the booking table. We'll evolve the booking table also in the further classes, but as of now, this is the booking table. Satvik. Any questions, anyone? Just one more. I'll still just keep it copied. Yep. Okay. Any questions, anyone? Any other method do you feel we should have for our repositories? Any other method that you feel we should have? We are able to find review of the booking as well separately. When we will fetch the booking, we don't want it to be immediately fetched. And technically, though, this particular service, this review service should not be responsible for like immediately fetching the booking details. It should be only responsible for fetching the review. Okay. We can have a separate booking service. There, maybe we can have a method that can fetch everything around booking, even the review as well. But if you want to have a separate review fetch for a particular booking, I believe this is the right service to go for. For booking, we need to get driver and passenger. But again, that's the booking service part, right? For review service, what? You need a you need all the CRUD methods for review, find review, delete review, update review. Those CRUD methods, so you automatically get by what? By JPA repository. Can I say that? Everyone able to get this point? And interestingly, just FYI, guys, if you implement the JPA repository, then can you see internally the JPA repository actually implement some other or extends from some other interfaces like CRUD repository, paging and sorting repository, and query by example executor. If you see the CRUD repository, can you see CRUD repository, list CRUD repository extends from CRUD repository. And this CRUD repository has methods like save all, find by ID, exist by ID, all of these. If you go back and you go to list and paging sorting repository, which extends from paging and sorting repository, you can see this has this find all and find all method, which where you can give the sort object. Can you see? We'll see pagination also coming up in the upcoming set of lectures. But you can see JPA repository is kind of like a club of all the internal repositories that are present. But don't we need to know who wrote the review? One second. If you go to the review model, right, you're able to fetch the review. If you want to know if you want to know who wrote the review, booking already has that property, right? Satvik, are you able to get this point? Booking already has that. So from the booking, you can fetch, like from the booking, you have the booking ID. So from this booking ID, you fetch the review and you can fetch the passenger also. Or maybe you can write one method that gives you the passenger details along with the review as well. No problem there actually. Okay, you can make one more DTO. Like probably you can write something like this. So if you say go to review repository, for example, and in fact, you can move this method. You can move this method from booking repository to review repository only, I believe. Let's just move it here only. Let's have all the related methods here. Like you can write one more custom object again. Maybe there can be a custom class custom. Again, we'll talk about details and everything, which will be having what? Public. For the timing, I'm making it public review, and public passenger, public driver, Okay. And you can have a constructor custom, public custom. Remember the custom object that we were making previously? It will take a review. It will take a passenger. It will take a driver. And you can say this dot driver is equals to driver. This dot passenger is equals to passenger. This dot, what do you say? Review is equals to review. Okay, something like this you can do. And you can have a query here that can return custom, right? Find driver, passenger, review by booking ID. Okay, you can have a method. You can pass a booking ID here. And then you can write a raw query here yourself here. @query. Select. You can pass the whole package. New. This. Okay. From now you have to join a lot of things. You can say booking B, inner join passenger P. Okay, so we'll first of all join the booking and the passenger table. Let's close this and let me show you the tables. So if you carefully see, booking has your passenger ID and driver ID as well. Okay, so first of all inner join with passenger. Then whatever is the result, we can inner join with driver D and so on. And at last you can just fetch the review. You can pass the review here, passenger here, and the driver here. So these kind of complex queries you can like manually write if again your use case suggests that. Satwik, make sense? Okay. For now, you can just keep it here. Because in case you want like the whole details, like you want review also, you want passenger also, you want driver also from a booking. How about like from the booking service? That should be a more doable thing. And there you can keep it like all of them as eager loading altogether. Make sense? Why do we pass package name inside query? Rachel, were you not present in that class where we struggled a lot around the query? Where is that query? Were you not present in that class where we were struggling from that custom query? Wednesday. No, not Wednesday. Sunday. Last Sunday. Guys, remember? We saw a syntax like this, right? Return custom object spring data JPA hibernate query @query. Okay, so if you remember, I showed you this, right? Remember? Yeah, we discussed. Just revise the Sunday's class. You will get the hang of it. Okay, cool. So we have a basic set of review repository methods available with us. Now, along with your Quora homework, there is one more homework. If somebody can do it, it would be good. Otherwise, no problem. Added review repository methods. Okay. So what I believe you can do is, let me push. So let's go to my GitHub. Okay. Maybe you can add a few service layer and controller layer here. Okay. I can make an issue. Add controller layer for review service. Add controller methods for all the basic CRUD, for reviews. Okay, this can be one ticket and I can label it as good first issue. And one more issue I can create. Add service layer for review service. Okay, remember we have to make interfaces. Then we always need to depend on the composition on interfaces. You need to do all of that. Implement the service layer to have all the basic CRUD working for reviews. Okay, this can also be a good first issue. Cool. And I can just quickly show you as well. In case you forgot. So in case now we have to implement a service layer, what will you do? You will create a new package. Services. Oh, services already exist. So we'll go here. And what we can do is we can, first of all, implement an interface. Okay, which is going to be our review service. Okay, interface. Now, inside this interface, we need to have a bunch of methods. So what kind of methods we need to have? Let's say, we'll say review. Let's get the review model, review, find review by ID, find review by ID, and we are going to pass a long ID. Then maybe public review, list of reviews. Okay, list of review, find all reviews. Okay, this can be one method. Then you can have public, let's say, delete a review. So you can say public boolean delete review by ID, and you can pass the long ID. Okay, for example, you have these methods. You can add more CRUD methods here, right? And then what you can actually do is, this is your interface, right? Now you can write an implementation of this interface. So you can say review service implementation class. This is going to implement review service, and there will be a bunch of methods that we need to implement. So I'll add all of those methods. Now, in order to call these methods, what do we need? We need the Spring Data JP, right? So we'll say private review repository. Okay, and we can do a constructor injection here. So we can say, and one more thing, all of these repositories are mapped with @repository. So let's map this with @repository, and let's map, this is already there. Now your review service class need to be mapped with what? @service. Otherwise, the bean creation will not be managed by Spring Boot. Okay, and now what you can do is you can say public review service implementation, and here you are going to get a injection of review repository, which you can say this dot review repository is equals to review repository altogether, right? As simple as that. And now here what you can do is you can say return review repository dot find by ID. Okay, and this should technically return optional, right? So here also let's have optional. Okay, let's have the, oh, what happened? So let's have this review as optional. Okay, and inside the review service also, let's have this as optional. Okay, looks good. Find all reviews. So you can just say review repository dot find all, delete review by ID. So let's see. So you can say review repository dot delete by ID, and you can pass the ID here. Okay, and let's see what's the return type. Return type is void here already. So if you are able to successfully delete, you return a true. Okay, and if there is any error that happens, so you can maybe block it with the try catch exception. I'll talk about exception handling separately as well. So let's cut it out from here. Paste it here. And here, if an exception happens, so we can just say return false or no. Cool. Okay. So this kind of a service implementation we need. We need more methods here. We need more methods here. So that's why I've created this issue that add the service layer for the review service. And you can see you have to create this kind of interfaces, then have these methods so that you can follow all the important design principles like the dependency inversion principle and everything, right? And then correspondingly, if you want more implementations, like different more methods coming up here, you can have all of those added. And then correspondingly, if you go here, you can also start preparing your controllers. So I've prepared these 2 tickets. You can just start implementing your controllers and more services along with this. I'll just quickly push this code so that you have it as a reference. Added service layer for review service. There we go. Suppose we need to change JSON response structure, like add response. Yeah, that we will talk about, Saurabh. That's the controller part. So although I already talked about it, but don't worry, I'll probably help you revise it. If you remember, then we can have entity response structures. If you remember, we can have a wildcard response coming up. I gave you a homework as well, but don't worry, we'll talk about it if you don't remember. Remember, guys, I gave you guys a homework that if I want to return anything, how can you do that? For example, if I probably will be having it here. If I go for first Spring project, new window, source, 1 second, close, test, main, Java, and not this one. 1 second, let's go file, to do API Spring, I guess, this one, new window, and source, main, Java. Do you guys remember this response entity? Yep. If you want to have a custom DTO return, then you can have a custom response structure altogether. Or if you want to return anything, like you probably want to return anything, then you can have a wildcard operator coming up here. We talked about it in the previous set of classes. Got it? So you can see our service is shaping up. Now, let's see who is able to contribute more on this, on the controller layer part, right? We'll start talking about a few more things in the next class. If you see with respect to Spring Boot, there are more concepts around Spring Boot that we have to learn. For example, there's something called as advices for better error handling and everything. We'll talk about that. We'll also start with authentication. Cool stuff coming up ahead. But I believe today's class was understandable and you guys learned a lot of new things. I would say do revise it. Do make sure that you are able to implement a bunch of things here and there. And we are going to meet soon in the next set of lectures. Till then, take care, guys. Bye-bye. Have a lovely week ahead and keep coding, everyone.